Okay, so just real quick before I drive myself home, I saw another video on YouTube today, and she used the best analogy I've heard in a long time about God, Jesus, and you. And a lot of people say, like, you are God, you are God, blah, 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 blah. The analogy that this woman used on YouTube was that think of God like a Persian rug, a big, huge rug. You are a thread within that rug. You are not the rug itself, right? Because without the threads there would be no rug, and without the rug there would be no threads, right? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So like, you are a part of God, but you are not God itself, himself, whatever you want to associate with God. And another really good analogy I can use for this that I thought about after the fact, someone told me that I have my daughter's eyes. That doesn't quite make sense, right? Because that would be insinuating that her eyes came before mine. No. She has my eyes. My eyes were here first. My mother's eyes were there before mine, and her mother and her. I don't have my daughter's eyes. My daughter has eyes that resemble mine. So, same concept. You are not God, you are of God. You are a piece of God, a living, walking, breathing piece of God. And that's another reason why when they say we are all God's children, or when it said we are all God's children, there's no better analogy for God's love for each and every one of us than children itself. And because they could have used the analogy of you are God's, like, you're God's sister, you're God's brother, you're God's wife, you're God's husband, you're God's niece, nephew, uncle, cousin. That's not what they chose to use as the analogy. They chose specifically, we're all God's children. Why? Because not only are we of God, without God we wouldn't be here ourselves, but the love that you feel, if you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the love that you feel when you look at your child is like no other love on earth. There's nothing else like watching your child come into themselves, or learn things on a daily basis, or just show you new things, show you little quirks of their personality and what makes them special. It is the same love that God has for each and every one of us. That is why they say we are like God's children, because the level of love that God feels for us is equivalent to the same level of love that parents feel for their children. I couldn't find a better analogy for that. Like, that is the ultimate love, because it's a love it's the love of free will. It's the love of free will. That is God's love for us, is free will. God said, I want you to be who you are. So that way, when you return to me, when you leave Eden, when you bite the apple, when you say, oh no, I want to experience what it's like on the other side, just for you to turn right, excuse me, just for you to turn right back around and be like, actually, Lord, I changed my mind. It's a little ghetto out here, and I want to return home. I want to return to Eden. So how do I do that? God is always there with open arms. Just like in parenting, there's always going to be a time when your child kind of rebels against you. And it's not that you didn't love them right. It's not that you didn't care for them and give them everything that they need. It's because they are an individual. It's because they want to experience for themselves. Some things just can't be taught. Some things have to be experienced. And I'm not referring that to, like, actually, I'm going to skip over that thought. But some things can't be taught. Some things have to be experienced, because if you don't experience it firsthand for yourself, you're not going to really see the value in it. And this is another thing, like, children that are raised in financially stable households versus children that are not. It is not that those children don't know or understand the value of a dollar, but that value doesn't hold the same weight that it would for someone who hasn't had it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, until you realize um that there was even something missing. You have to realize that there was something missing in order to realize that you want more. You have to realize that there is something not quite right in order to realize that something needs to be fixed. And it's a journey that every single person on God's green earth goes through. It's a loop, really. It's the Eden loop. It's the Eden loop. And we all have to consciously make the choice to end that loop, to say, you know what? I understand what I did. I understand that I sinned. Period. But I want to come home. I understand that now the grass isn't greener over here. In fact, the greenest grass in the world, or the greenest grass in our existence, was in Eden. How do I get back? Lord, show me how to get back there. Now I believe in everything you taught me. Now I believe in everything that you've shown me how to take care of myself up until this point, because I've seen it. I've experienced it. I know what it's like to not live in your grace. And I never, ever, ever want to be outside of that ever again. Right? So I don't know. You guys sit with that, marinate with it. Let me know what you think. Do you have any other analogies that are kind of good for not the Eden analogy, the child analogy, the analogy of God versus you, or not God versus you, but God and you, and how you're not the same. You're different, but you're the same. If that makes sense. You're an individual, but you're still connected. And that is the beauty in not only free will, but that is the beauty in God's love. Because again, if you're a parent, you will know this. Every child you have is an individual. You don't want, or that child is going to do things that your other children just don't do. They're going to do things that, no matter, they've all been raised the same. They all have the same knowledge, but the way that they interpret that knowledge, the way that they experience their lessons, the way that they experience the world is so much different, and that is what makes them unique. That is what their free will is, and that is what makes them beautiful. And you would never want to change that, because again, that is who makes that is what makes them them. So I don't know. Yeah, I do know, but let me know what you think about that.